Greetings everyone, and today I'm back with the two masked wrestlers, not because I want to make another comparison. I believe I already said everything I have to say on that subject in both detail and summary, but rather because one of the most heatingly debated topics in the Tekken community has come back into the spotlight lately. When Season 3 first dropped, people were kind of like focused on the Akuma situation for obvious reasons. And before that saga ever came to a close, we got blessed with Leroy, and people got fixated on him for obvious reasons. And I'm not going to say that he's fixed, I don't really know if he's fixed, but because of the recent patch that came out specifically targeting him, maybe his situation has become a little bit more manageable, which is why people kind of like woke up for the first time since Season 3, and they started like focusing and looking more closely at their mates. So what I mean by that is recently there has been a lot more attention, or attention came back to the subject of Armor King versus King, or more specifically, let's say Armor King buffs. People complaining that Armor King is not good enough. I agree that he has a lot of problems that should get fixed, but in this video I'm going to highlight just two moves, only two moves, that I believe should be at the very top of every Armor King buff request. I'm not saying this is all he needs to be good. I'm saying these are the two most important things that he needs. Because if I'm willing to play semantics here for a second, Armor King requires, before buffing, he requires fixing. There are two aspects of his game plan that are just completely broken, like not in his favor. He has two gigantic problems that should get patched. And those two problems can be like narrowed down to just two moves that if the buffs that I suggest are applied to, would immediately make Armor King at least work. Once he works, but he works now well enough, then you can start buffing him. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Before I get to that, there are two themes that I see recur when people discuss Armor King buffs. And these are like probably the reason, or I don't know if this is like a reason, but they definitely don't help the cause when you're asking for Armor King to get fixed or buffed. The first buff that to Armor King that Armor King players suggest is nerfing King. Now, this doesn't make any sense. Because suppose, dear Armor King players, you woke up tomorrow and there's a big fat patch that got released, similar to the Leroy patch, let's say, that specifically targets King and just nerfs all his key tools to the ground, and he's even worse than Armor King now. Okay, how does that help you as an Armor King player? One of your matchups is now significantly easier, but you still have 40 plus other characters to face on the roster. What are you going to do against those? It's not like King is the only character you have to face in this game. You have to face a lot of other characters, most of which are fantastic. So nerfing King doesn't help you. This is the first time ever where both characters are included in the same game, and King is actually the superior one. It used to be the other way around. While that doesn't like contribute to the point, it just says that you don't have to focus on King. Forget King. Just look at your character subjectively and look what he lacks. The second reoccurring theme that I find is that when people ask for Armor King buffs, they ask for ridiculous stuff that will never get implemented. For example, they ask for this to have an extension, which would make it almost like a 12-frame all-standing launcher. Nobody's going to give you that. They ask for blue spark, just frame, dark uppers that are plus on block and mid. Nobody's going to give you that. So, and on top of this, these two buffs, like one of them does not, but the other, like, they're focusing on Armor King's strengths. The problem with Armor King is not that he doesn't have enough strengths. His strengths are pretty much fantastic. His problem is that his weaknesses are too glaring that they overshadow his strengths. He can't imply his strengths against a good opponent. A good opponent can just find the holes and squeeze through them, and he will never have to deal with his strengths. So you ask him for better dark uppers, you ask him for better launchers, I don't think it's going to fix much. So please stop asking for King nerfs. It's not going to help Armor King at all. And stop asking for ridiculous stuff that will never get implemented, and use what little attention you can get from the development team to propose something that could actually change their mind. So, without dragging on any further, the two moves that I'm going to talk about are down forward 2 and forward forward 2. Now, down forward 2 is ridiculous for a lot of reasons. We need this move because Armor King has trouble covering his right side up close. When it comes to like just a glimpse of comparing the two kings, you can go back and watch my videos if you really want to. Armor King is weaker up close, yes, but that's fair because he's much stronger from far away. Whereas King from this distance cannot launch you unless you stand perfectly still or just duck and eat a capital punishment, Armor King has a lot of tools to harass you with. Now, admittedly, most of them are highs, but I'm going to get to that. Which is why he's much more comfortable from this range. And his Shining Wizard, now we got a wall there, but we're still far away. His Slash Kick, and most of his other tools leave the opponent at this kind of range. This is where Armor King is most comfortable. This is what he's designed to be. If you just examine his tool set, you find that developers, in their minds, they designed Armor King to be a weaker king up close, but much scarier from far away. Now, up close, whereas King can cover his left side with 14 frames, Armor King has this for 16. But at least it does well. Like, it's 16 frames, yes, it's definitely a lot slower. And that's kind of like the point. He's supposed to not feel as comfortable poking up close once the opponent starts stepping. If the opponent is not stepping, your down forward 1 is much better than King's. And you have a 14 frame mid, which King does not have, unless he goes for forward into shove, which is kind of like not super applicable up close. But once the opponent starts getting wide with sidesteps up close, you fall apart as Armor King. But your left side is covered with this. It's 16 frames, but at least it covers it. At least you have 90 degree tracking on this, at least. The problem comes with the right side. This has a little bit of tracking to the right side, but not enough. Even King here can step it. Go up to 14 frames, you have this. Of course, this has no tracking at all. This doesn't track as well at all. And at 15 frames, we get this. Now this sucks, I'm going to get back to why, but bottom line is you have to resort to down 2, which is 17 frames. Now this is brutal. Having to resort to 17 frames to get a tracking mid is just way too much, because this is 17 frames. Which is why currently what I suggest for Armor King players is that instead of making the two-way mix-up, oh, I'm going to do something that tracks right versus I'm going to do something that tracks left and both are mid, just do this, which tracks both directions, and your opponent has to duck it and then mix it up with a mid. Because either way you get it into 17 frames territory. But bottom line is, even down 2 is steppable by characters like Lillian and such, so you just have a completely disastrous situation when it comes to tracking, which is why a lot of Armor King players poke with this, which is a low and it's negative on hit. Speaking of negative on hit, let's examine down forward 2. Down forward 2, which is the thing that I'm going to talk about now. Down forward 2, it's 15 frames, it's mid. Okay, 15 frames is not particularly fast for a mid. Like hop kicks are 15 frames, and there are 5 classes of moves that are quicker than that, because you have 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10. So 5 classes of moves are quicker than 15 frames. But once you get a 15 frame mid, first of all, it's not a normal hit launcher. Okay, fine, I don't want it to be a normal hit launcher. It launches only on counter hit. And even then, like, the combos are not ridiculous. You can get like into the territories of mid-60s with sidesteps into Shining Wizards and whatever. On its own, it's punishable. It's minus 12. I don't know why. It doesn't launch on normal hit. How do you keep it safe? Well, you do the extension, which is down forward 2, 1. Now the extension is a high and it can be ducked, but it makes it safe and it's the beginning of his stupid 10-hit combo. If you get a counter hit but you finish the string, you don't get a launch. On top of all this, did I mention it's punishable? It is punishable, it's minus 12. On top of all this, it's negative 1 on hit. Why so much hate towards this move? What is this move doing that's so fantastic that warrants it being minus 1 on hit, punishable on block, having to resort to a high extension to keep it safe, which can be ducked, while it only launches on counter hit. And even then, most of the time, you're gonna get something like that. Like, it's barely 60. For a counter hit that's a mid, this is ridiculous. So this move should get seriously addressed. First of all, give it proper plus frames on hit. Why -1? Second, why the hell is it punishable on block? I don't need to do the extension. Just make it -9. And most importantly, fix the tracking, because while many characters can step this to their left, which is Armor King's right, a lot of characters actually can. While this does have tracking to both directions, just remove the tracking to his left, because we already have that covered, and make it a complete 90 degrees tracking to his right side, which is his weak side. And that way it would make sense, because he would pay the price of 2 extra frames over King to cover each and every side. King can cover his left with 14, you do it with 16. King can cover his right with 13 frames, you can do it with 15. And that would make sense. So when you ask for buffs to this move, I don't believe you're going to get much resistance. I don't see why anyone would argue, no, leave it as it is. Because there's just so much wrong with it. Like -1 on hit, punishable on block, launches only on counter hit, and if you choose to go safe with the extension, you don't get the launch. It's just ridiculous. It's just too much. So please, for the sake of tracking up close, I don't have to resort to this 4-4-3 plus mid shenanigan. Just give us a proper mid that's not 17 frames on startup. And this 15 frames, it's not a fantastic tool. Kazuya is considered a horrible poker, and he has a down forward one that's 15 frames. So this is not going to like raise any eyebrows when it's buffed. So please focus on down forward 2. This should be on the top of each and every Armor King buff list. Now once we back away, like I said, in my eyes, Armor King is designed to be the superior king. He has Dark Uppers from this range, he has this to harass the opponent, but the problem is, as always, as everybody points out, he doesn't have a lot of mist to mix it up with, which makes you resort to a lot of slash kicks. Now his slash kick is not bad, but it doesn't like build him enough momentum, because it is plus 10 on block or something, but it pushes the opponent way far away. Now, from this range you have some mids, but like forward 4, it's 15 frames, it's fantastic, it's his roll bounce, but it's -14. It does have pushback, and if you place it extremely well against certain characters, they can't punish it. And there are others that just can't punish it overall. Bottom line, you can either do this knee, which is safe on block, you can either do while standing 4 and do it complete like Mishima style, but the move that I'm going to talk about is forward 4-2. Forward 4-2 is 16 frames, so it's even slower than his forward 4-4 at 15. It has a little bit of high crush frames, as Armor King TV has discovered. But let's just examine it. The damage is 23. That's all you get. It's a knockdown mid that gives you almost nothing. On counter hit, there's nothing extra, just 4 extra damage. And on block, it's -11. It does have a little bit of pushback, but a lot of characters can reach and punish it. It's punishable. Why is it punishable? What is it doing that's so fantastic? Like, at the wall with wall splats? But, like whoop-de-doo. Like, what fantastic damage can you get out of this? I haven't even tested it because I don't use that move that much. And once you're there, like, just do forward 2. Just do forward 2. This will get you a much better splat. So forward 4-2 is just like ridiculous. Why is it punishable? I don't understand. It's a 16 frame mid that only knocks down. This should be -9. End of story. Once you make this -9, like, nobody's going to be afraid of this move. Nobody's going to say, oh my god, Armor King's forward 4-2's -9, like he's just top tier now. This is just a knockdown mid. 23 damage, and it's not used that much because of that reason, because of the reason that it's punishable. Just make it -9, that way you can do it out of wave dash, you can just pressure with it, because currently Armor King players just poke with this, but you have to poke with a 30 frame mid, and your game plan is like, oh, do I finish the string, or do I like stand there and do back turned lows? This is just ridiculous. You don't need to go that far. Just give us forward 4-2 that's -9 on block, and that's it. This would check so many boxes. Like these two moves, down forward 2 and forward 4-2, would fix so many problems. And the thing is that once you ask for these specific moves to get buffed, because they're not crazy, like down forward 2 is not a normal hit launcher. Making a normal hit launcher safe on block would be ridiculous, but it's not a normal hit launcher. It has such properties as if it was supposed to be a normal hit launcher, but that concept was like scrapped at the last minute. So it's just like ridiculous. And 4-4-2 is the same thing. So please focus on these two moves. If these two changes are implemented, at least Armor King works. He has a complete poking game up close. It is slow. It's slower than King, which is the way it should be again. Because if you make him as good as King up close, King would become completely obsolete in a second. And from far away, you don't have that many mids. Why not have forward 4-2? 16 frame mid, knockdown, 23 damage. Yes, that's the kind of move that should be safe. And not a wall bounce, for example. So in my mind, these are the two most important things that should be talked about when discussing Armor King buffs. Please stop wasting your breath talking about plus on block mid dark uppers. Nobody's gonna give you that. Ask for something that could get implemented. Ask for something that's -1 on hit, doesn't give you a launch if you finish the string. Ask for something that is only a mid knockdown that's punishable on block. And that's going to conclude everything I have to say on this subject. So, as always, thank you all for watching. Take care and goodbye.